Give the call to member for Goldstein.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. As the representative of Goldstein, it is a great pleasure to be able to move this to support this important motion, particularly as it has been moved by my good friend and outstanding representative of his community, the member for I've had a terrible mental block. Ryan, the member for Ryan. And he's moving this motion because of the critical role of the vaccine innovation and research that's being done in his electorate through the University of Queensland. And of course, Deputy Speaker, we all know that universities play a critical role in the innovation, research and development of this country. They don't stand alone, but they're a critical part, particularly in primary science, and bringing about important health treatment options and vaccinations. And one of the best things about our universities is their international outlook. And because of their international outlook, they're able to collaborate with research institutions all around the world to be part of international efforts, particularly in crises such as these. And it's important that it's done not just with the hard work and effort of our medical research and scientists, but it's also done through the commitment and support of the federal government. In the 2021 budget, we allocated a total of $2.3 billion to support the development and production of a safe and effective vaccine in sufficient quantities to ensure all Australians have access to such a vaccine relating to COVID-19. And we know this is critically important, not just for protecting the health and well-being of the Australian population, though that is absolutely critical, but it's also important because it provides the foundation for which we can have the investment to rebuild and continue to strengthen our economy as we get Australians back to work, travelling internationally and connecting with their families and loved ones. The benefits aren't just in dollars and cents, they aren't just in lives, but they're also in connection. And that's what we're slowly seeing as we've been able to keep COVID-19 largely out of the Australian community, is being able to rebuild the bonds that have suffered as a consequence of this virus and the response measures that have been introduced. Now, of course, Deputy Speaker, Australia is playing a critical role in the development of a COVID-19 vaccine, not just for our country, but for the world. We have 4 vaccine candidates that have commenced clinical trials in Australia, an important step towards a safe and readily available vaccine. This includes candidates developed by the University of Queensland, as I mentioned before, represented by the good member for Ryan, Flinders University vaccine, Novavax and Clover Biopharmaceuticals. So at every point, we have both the private sector and universities working together to be part of building Australia's vaccine future. A total of $363 million in Australian government support for COVID-19 R&D has been announced so far, including $96 million through the Medical Research Future Fund for research into COVID-19 related vaccines and treatments, as well as further preparedness. But as we know, it's not just about having a vaccine, though that's important, but it's getting its delivery out to the Australian community. And so much of the resources that the Commonwealth has allocated is to make sure that when we have a vaccine that is available, it gets to the affected communities, particularly obviously taking care of our older Australians, those who are vulnerable and need extra health support, to our critical healthcare workers, and we thank them once again for the role they have played in containing and managing this virus, as well as, of course, other people from communities who are susceptible to the risks, who manage comorbidities or other health conditions, and, of course, the general Australian community so they can go about their lives as well. And that's why the research, for instance, the University of Queensland, with $5 million from the Australian government for their innovative molecular clamp vaccine technology, is so important. It's why all of the different pathways, including the University of Oxford, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, BioNTech, Janssen, Novavax and Moderna pathways are critical, because there is never any one foolproof solution, because everybody has different health conditions and some people respond to different vaccines in different ways. But making sure we have vaccines that are available, that can be rolled out and given to people in the community so they can go about living out their lives is a critical path to getting from what is now for us a kind of COVID normal back to simply normal. And that's what I think Australians desperately want, and that's why the Morrison government is providing so much funding so that we can get back to normal from a COVID normal and be in a position to have a successful Australia into the future.